All right, thank you so much for joining today's Region 10 Education Service Center Family Webinar, IEP Implementation and Monitoring Tips for Families. We're glad you're here today, and today's session is offered in partnership with Partners Resource Network, and we're grateful to have Jim from PRN joining us today. Hello. Thanks for being here and for your continued partnership in supporting families across Texas. Now, before we begin, I'd like to remind you that a Spanish language version of this presentation will begin at 1 p.m. So if you or someone you know would prefer to participate in Spanish, we'd invite you to come back and then join us then for the same important information and resources. Please note that today's session is being recorded and the recording will be posted on the Region 10 Family Engagement webpage within 7 to 10 business days. Now, today's presentation will focus on IEP implementation and monitoring and the resources available to support families as you partner with your school and child's education throughout the year. We're grateful to have Sherry from Region 10 joining us today as our presenter. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you. Thanks, Sherry.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you, Jim, for our continued collaboration over the past few years. So I love talking about an opportunity to always help our parents along the way in the journey of special education, because I am too a special education parent as well. So really love helping out our families. So welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. We're going to talk about what happens after the ARD meeting, and once the IEP is written and agreed upon, how do we know it's actually working? Our goal is to help you feel confident, informed, and equipped to partner with your child's school throughout the entire year and not just the annual meeting. With that said, my name is Sherry Mowden. I am a consultant here at Region 10. I support schools and families in understanding special education processes, and not only that, but building strong partnerships. My heart is for helping families feel informed and empowered. And if you ever should have any questions, feel free to email me at any time. I'm more than happy to help. So we're going to focus on what happens after the IEP meeting. Many families attend the meeting but are unsure what to do next. So this session is going to give you some simple practical steps to stay involved and confident throughout the school year. So by the end of our time together, you're going to understand what should happen after the ARD meeting. So we're going to learn some simple ways to monitor your child's progress. We're going to gain practical communication strategies to strengthen your partnership with the school. And this session is about clarity, confidence, and collaboration. What is an IEP? So in the state of Texas, the IEP is developed during the ARD meeting, and ARD stands for Admission, Review, and Dismissal. You are an equal member of this team, and the two voting members of the committee are the administrator and the parent. However, a team of experts come together to create and propose a plan just for your child. As an IEP is a written plan designed specifically for your child. It is created by the ARD committee, which includes you, and you are that equal member. The purpose of it is the IEP is to support your child's learning, and it is reviewed at least once a year. Think of it as a roadmap for your child. It outlines where your child is now and where your child is working toward. The components included in the IEP. Understanding these parts help you understand what you're looking for throughout the year. Schools must provide you a copy of your procedural safeguards. Those are your rights. You keep this document in your safe place. It explains how decisions are made and what to do if concerns arise. Every IEP includes those key components. We have the PLAF, which is the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. This tells you where currently your child is. Then you have annual goals and what we expect your child to achieve within the year. Those services and the supports, which is how the school will help your child. Progress monitoring is how the growth will be measured. You also have important rights. So you have the right to participate. You have the right to receive written notice. You have the right to disagree, and you have the right to the procedural safeguards. Knowing your strengths strengthen your voice in this process. After the ARD, what's next? Now what? What do we do? Implementation of this ARD means the plan is actually being used in the classroom. Monitoring means checking to see if it is working. Once the meeting ends, the real work is going to begin. The school must start those services, implement the goals and accommodations, and monitor progress. Provide updates to the parents, and you should begin seeing those supports in action. The IEP is not just paperwork, it's a living document guiding instruction. What does implementation look like? Implementation means the plan is actually being used in the classroom. Monitoring means checking to see if it's working. If your child receives speech therapy twice a week, that should be happening. And if your child has extended time, teachers need to be providing that as well. We need to be consistent when we are implementing that IEP. What does progress monitoring look like? Ask yourself, is your child making progress? How do we know our child is making progress? Progress does not always mean perfection. It means growth toward the annual goal. Also, we collect data when we're monitoring progress. Progress monitoring is shared, and also we can make adjustments, not only the goals, but the accommodations as needed to ensure that progress is being made. Build your partnership with your teachers and the campus early. Strong partnerships prevent confusion later on. Communication through the year is better than only meeting at the annual ARD. So we want to have communication consistently throughout the year. We want to build positive relationships because those positive relationships build trust, and trust supports your child. Keep a parent binder. And in here, there's a little video that will tell you how to keep a binder. For a binder, I highly encourage you to keep that because it keeps you organized as you're going along and supporting your student. What should your binder include? It's going to include current and past IEPs. As a parent, I like to look at what the past looked like and where we're going in the future. What are the progress reports and what are the report cards that are being sent out? What does that look like? Do you have any outside evaluations that you've conducted privately and individually? Do you have the current evaluations as well? Do you have any doctor notes or any list of providers? Because this is all great information to provide and communicate as well. And then are you collecting work samples from school or do you have any samples for yourself as well? Those clear questions when we are supporting our students. Never hesitate to ask for clarity because it can be very, very, very confusing for as a parent sitting in an ARD and hearing a lot of information, especially if you're not familiar with the process and the language that's being spoken around you. You can quickly ask how are goals being measured. This is a great question to ask for clarification. And what does progress look like? What is it going to look like for your individual child in the classroom? What happens if your child does not make progress? This is a great question to ask during the ARD and after the ARD, especially if you're seeing that in your progress monitoring notes. What happens next if my child isn't making progress? What is the plan? What are we going to do to help ensure that my child is growing academically and functionally? What type of data is being collected? Is it formal data? Is it formal data? Is it informal or formal data? Is it summative? Is it just class samples? What kind of data is being collected so I understand if my child is making that progress? And if your teacher is speaking in acronyms, ask for clarification. On here is from SpedText. It's the acronym list of everything that we speak in special education language because it can be very, very daunting and overwhelming when teachers around you are speaking in the FIE, the R, the IEP, the ESY, the LRE, the SLD, the AU. All these acronyms come naturally to teachers, but it might not come naturally to our parents, and we need to educate ourselves as parents, and this is a great little resource for you. Clear communication also ensures that everybody is understanding what is going on and that progress for your child. Review the progress report. So when they come to you every 9 weeks or 6 weeks, or however your district does it, review those progress reports. In that progress report, compare the report to the actual goal. Look at the report, look at the goal, and see if there is growth. Always look for that growth. If it is unclear, always ask for explanation. You can go to the case manager, the special education case manager, or you can go to the classroom teacher or the teacher of record as well, because everybody has responsibility in implementing the IEP for your child. Progress should always be monitored and measured, and it should be measurable. And if a goal says 80% accuracy, the report should reflect that measurement. It should reflect 80% accuracy. Meet and communicate regularly. You don't always have to wait for the annual ARD. You can always pick up the phone and call a teacher, call the principal, call your speech therapist, call your dyslexia therapist. You can always request a conference as well. It can be in person or it can be virtual. Schools are very, very flexible in supporting our parents and also flexible in the how we're going to support our parents as well. Could address any concerns early. If you have any concern, immediately address it once you have it in your head or in your mind that you have a concern. Don't ever wait or delay that concern when you are trying to support your student. And always celebrate progress. If you notice that your child is making great progress and celebrating that progress, always make sure to celebrate it. Even the small wins are great wins. Early communication also prevents any type of misunderstanding and strengthens communication and collaboration. I, as a parent, would always recommend always having some of that positive intent when we are communicating regularly and effectively with our staff and our teachers. Ask yourself when we are having a reflection time, when we're seeing about, is my child growing? Is my child growing in the right direction? Are they growing academically? Are they growing functionally? Is the IEP also being implemented consistently? Are the teachers doing it with fidelity? Are the accommodations being followed? Are they working on goals consistently throughout the year? And ask yourself, do I understand the data? If you don't understand the data, always pick up the phone, ask a teacher, ask the case manager, or even ask the principal. If the answer to any of these is no, that's always a signal to always ask more questions. As a teacher, I loved it when my parents asked questions because it meant that they were involved, and I always loved and appreciated an involved parent. Reflection. Name a strength that your child has. Always name one strength that your child has. Always go in when you're thinking about reflecting about how what your child how your child performs in a classroom, and then when you're communicating with a teacher, always name a strength, because that's always something moving in the positive direction. One question you have about progress. What are some questions you have about the current progress your child is making? Also, ask yourself one step you will take to strengthen a partnership. If you feel a partnership with a teacher is not going in the right direction, what can you do with positive intent to help it go in that right direction? And also, your involvement truly matters when we are making those educational decisions for your student. The more you're involved, the more your child is going to flourish in a school. With that said, we have gone a little fast and furious. I understand that, but if you have any questions, this slide deck was built out of many resources, the Texas Education resources. This has a hyperlink to the procedural safeguards. It is very daunting. It's very long document, but outlines everything that you need to know for a parent and what to do next. And then also we have the Partner Resource Network. I love the 25 tips for ARDS that is there. And we also have Jim on here as well. He's a great thinking partner for parents and also for people here at Region 10. And Navigate Life Texas is another great resource for my parents when you're developing that ARD and IEP for our meetings. And then SpedText. SpedText is another great resource, and I really love SpedText because it has a chat feature which you can ask a question in real time as a parent, and they always will find it in the legal framework for you as a parent. So this was a lot of information. I would just like to recap. When you are providing support for your child, partner with your staff, with the staff at the school, with the teachers. Keep a living document, a living binder for your student, for your child, because you're going to understand that process a little bit better. And then always ask questions. feel free to reach out at any time, especially, if you just had an ARD meeting and it's been a week or two and you come back with questions, which that's going to be completely normal. You finish this ARD process, especially if it's an initial ARD, you're going to have questions. The more questions you have, the more you're going to empower yourself as a parent to help advocate for your child.